What's up, Airheads? Welcome back to Puttin on Airs.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast about all fancy things provided to you by two men who are not fancy. Hello, Trey.
The two least fancy people on planet Earth.
What is
Hello,
that accent
Corey.
I just did?
I think just
Drunk?
a duke. Just a drunk
Hello.
duke. Yeah.
That's always like my go.
Bring me.
It just sounds.
Yeah, you don't even have to say words. It's just like...
I would definitely be able to know if someone was British by the way they came.
Yeah. By Jove.
Bring in someone to clean this. Yeah.
By Jove.
By Jove. Is it Joe? By Job?
Jove.
By Jove.
And I think...
What does that mean?
I believe, this is coming off the dome, but I believe that Jove is like a...
Jovial?
It's like a Greek god reference. Like, I think there's like Jovian planets, the gas planets that are named after Greek gods and stuff, because I think it's like... I think it has something to do with the Greek pantheon.
Okay.
I think. So it's like God, but to the Greeks. So is it? Yeah, look at that.
A lot of
Look.
British people say by Jove.
It was a way to say my God or good God without blaspheming the Christian God.
That's always been...
I kind of nailed that.
You did, but that's always been so interesting to me that, like, they go, it's a way to do it without blaspheming the Christian God.
Like he wouldn't know.
That insinuates that you think he's an idiot.
You can trick him.
Yeah, like I remember when I was a kid and that people would go, they would say, God dang it. Or like, oh, you don't say God damn it, say God dang it. Because I'm like, dude, first off, it's the God part.
Right.
That's the bad part. Like, damn don't mean nothing to him.
Even like dadgummit, I think is supposed to be another version of God damn it that's like okay to say, but the same logic
like
still
you
applies.
Understand.
It's like
saying shoot
God's
instead
a
of
bureaucrat or something.
He says like, you got me there. Yeah, like that doesn't... Actually, you know what? Now that I'm saying that, I think Caleb Simon has a bit that's exactly this.
He probably does. It sounds like a Caleb bit. Everybody check out Caleb Simon, our buddy, very funny comedian.
Yeah,
that
for
sounds
sure.
like some shit Caleb would do. And
Yeah,
I mean that because it's funny.
Of course,
it's funny and smart.
but yeah, that's always like my go-to. Hello, welcome to pushing on that. Like if I was to do like some sort of drunk British person, but I don't know that that's even a. Also, as far as Greek gods and stuff go, how'd they feel about that? Like back that, like you say that these were things that British people said, like.
I think there was just, again, they had a fascination with any kind of.
I was going to say, wasn't that they're Muslims, but like their Muslims were their Muslims.
Sure, but like, yeah, well, no, they fought the Crusades against the Muslims. Muslims definitely did not hit for them.
I can't wait to do that episode, by the way.
The Crusades, yeah, we'll get into it. But they had they just had a fascination with any kind of like uncivilized savagery.
Right.
Which this is not my classification. It's theirs, which I think carried over into like ancient Greece and stuff like that. Although actually that's not true because they were considered like, I think they looked up to them. Do you know what I mean? Like these were the first people,
conquerors.
These were the first people to be civilized.
Right.
These were the people who invented civilization.
Right.
And now we carry on civilization.
Right.
And so we look up to them.
Like they looked up
and we
to
celebrate their pantheon and everything.
Like they looked up to the Rome the same way that like Belichick and the Patriots looked up to like the Steelers and like the Raiders and shit like that.
To Walsh and all those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking Newt Rockney and them. Yeah,
that makes
sense. I think so. All right, so we got some fun stuff for you today. We're going to talk about an area in which fancy people culture and trash people culture overlaps, which is
kind of the theme of this show.
That's right. Wine. We both like wine. This is the Venn diagrams coming together. Wine hits for both of us, although in very different ways. We will talk about that. Also, Professor Cho will be informing us all about the legacy of one Giacomo Casanova. Everybody knows Casanova.
Which every time I hear that, it's like, Giacomo Finane. That's what I always think of. But I don't even know what those words mean.
My grandma...
Grandma putting
My grandma
on the
told
beans.
your grandma, I'm going to set your flag on fire.
Yeah.
Talking about hey na, Aiko, ane.
Yeah. Giacomo Fina, Bombonchi. I don't know.
Giacomo Fina.
Yeah.
Talking about head na. We are
Is this
offending
racist?
it's got to be. Dude, it's got to be.
But the only reason I even bring it up is because I never knew his first name. Like I would, because Casanova is like Cher or Prince. Like you just know Casanova. And in doing my research, like I saw his first name and I was like, God damn. Oh, here we go. My grandma, when your grandma was sitting,
I'm going to set your flag on fire. I nailed that
you were
too.
right. Talking about hey now.
See, Giacomo, and I'm not saying. This is funny. We kind of were nailing these lyrics.
We really were.
Like we thought we were just like phonetically saying racist words or something, but no, it was kind of these lyrics. But I don't think that Giacomo.
By the way, if it's racist to enjoy art the way it was meant to be enjoyed, you would hate to hear me sing Dr. Dre. But
for sure. But Giacomo Casanova is spelled Giacamo.
Yeah, exactly.
It may source from the same Giacomo as this song.
Maybe, but my point is that I never literally thought about whatever his first name was. And when I read it the first time, I was like, I don't know about that. And then, of course, like watching some documentaries on the guy.
Oh, yeah, because if you look at his name spelled,
Giacomo.
It's like Giacomo.
But then I know it was Giacomo, and I was like, Giacomo Casanova, that's a great name. And then as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, Giacomo Fina,
and then Edna.
Yeah, which again, I've never even thought about being racist, but it is when you kind of put on that Jamaican.
Yeah, the Creole. I think it's like a Creole deal.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Is it?
I don't Oh, it was a victory chant that the Indians would shout. All right. Yep.
Mardi Gras, yeah, I said Creole. It's a New Orleans thing.
Okay, well
that's what I thought.
By the Dixie Cups.
Yeah, not originally.
Of course
Can't
not.
Be.
Yeah, that's okay. Chalk that up to things that maybe they sound racist but aren't, or things that maybe that aren't racist but sound that way. I don't know, but like. Only as I was saying it did I go, this might be some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So the intent was fine. You know what I mean?
Okay, so before we get to all that, I wanted to ask you about trendsetters, following trends. I feel like we tend to think about...
Well, I mean, I have a lot to say about this. Well, I consider myself an icon.
Well, fancy people set a lot of trends. People look at fancy people and they do the same thing they do because they want to seem fancy.
Well, if they're doing it...
then it must be the thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, how many people didn't have the Jennifer Aniston haircut in 2001?
Exactly. Yeah. And apparently that's a very long-standing tradition. Goes back a long, I say very long-standing. I'm not only going back 200 years here or whatever, but hey, in America, 200 years is a long time, and I'm sure it goes back
I mean, that's
a lot.
most of it, right? How old are we?
I'm sure it goes back, right, yeah, 200 and some odd. Who knows? Whatever. 1776 minus today.
We don't act a day over 12, I promise you that.
Right. We're number dumb, but however that works out. Anyway, this isn't that long ago, but I'm sure human beings have been doing it for a lot longer than that. But, you know, in Victorian England, when they were doing all kinds of wild shit, there was trendsetters were real big back then, too. And there was a woman named Alexandra of the Dutch or something like that.
If it wasn't, it should be.
I'm getting that wrong. It's Alexandra of something. In the 19th century, she was married to the Prince of Wales. Okay, and so she was looked up to as like she was like the Lady Gaga of her time, except without any of the actual talent or she wasn't making hit records or nothing. I don't know. She might have hit at some other shit. Sure. She hit real hard at wearing goose feathers and standing in a fucking square, right? And
I could have done that.
Yeah, right. But. Either way, everything she did, people copied, right? Or other women's copied because that was like, that's what you do. That's it's like Jennifer Aniston and her haircut. So she wore like these chokers around her neck because she had scars on her neck. You just
described Bjork, though, not Jennifer Aniston.
Well, I said goose feather because everything back then was goose.
Yeah, it was.
To us. Everything back then was goose. But like, no, it was, like Jennifer Aniston. So like she had like she wore chokers around her neck. But she wore them to hide scars she had, but other people would wear those same chokers because that's like the thing to do.
Wait, like scars she had from like just like birth, or was this like
there she is?
It's like when a woman gets choked by a man and she wears a turtleneck. Like, was it that situation? I'm not trying to get grim. I'm just saying like that shit went
Alexandra of Denmark. I don't know. All it says is she wore it to conceal a scar on her neck. But then it got taken to...
It's so wild to think about these people in like 1867. And the only reason I say that is because like we had, Abraham Lincoln was 3 years dead by then. And like when I think about these type of people, it's always like that's even further removed from like the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? But like they were still really doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also wild because like they didn't have like Cosmo or nowadays Instagram or whatever. I guess they had
drawings. They had like zines. They definitely had like pamphlets.
So it went to some pretty far extremes with this particular lady, Alexandra of Denmark. She got rheumatic fever, left her with an unfortunate and very pronounced limp. So she has a disability now. She can't walk right, and she's limping. And all these other ladies of high society started limping after that on purpose. Not only did they start limping on purpose, the fashionistas of the time caught up with their trends and people started making special shoes.
Like they were off a little bit?
Yes.
Or something like that?
They started making special shoes with like one high heel and one low to force a lady's limp so that they could affect the very popular Alexandra limp, it was called. Alexandra of Denmark, who limped because of a terrible thing that happened to her. They wore mismatching shoes so they would appear to have the same limp.
I never knew this.
Did.
I haven't given my wife enough credit for being a fashionista because every now and then going to brunch, she wears 2 different shoes. And I didn't know she was making some sort of like highfalutin choice. But yeah, all the time. I can't tell you how many times my wife...
Well, again, we still do this shit today. I mean, hell, like the pimp limp, I feel like that's a thing.
Sea walk.
Yeah. People do this type of thing even now, but I think that I feel like now if somebody got hit by a bus and broke their leg, even if it was a Kardashian, I don't know if people would start faking a broken leg, but they do.
Well, I think that designer glasses are a thing. Like some people wear glasses.
Tell me about it.
Some people wear glasses that don't need glasses.
And that's always really upset me. I know, but someone whose eyes are horrendous and do not work.
Literally all that is, I would say that is because, rich people look good in glasses or fancy people wear glasses and they were like, oh, that looks prestigious. That looks whatever.
Makes you look smart.
Makes you look smart. Which somebody had a bit at one point about how it's the only when people wear glasses just to look like nobody would do that with hearing aids. Nobody would just start walking around with crutches. But these people doing the limps, that's kind of similar.
I used to have a bit about when I first got started doing stand up. I used to have a bit about that and I said wheelchairs. If I rolled up on stage in a wheelchair with some 20-inch rims on it or whatever, but I could walk, that would be kind of fucked up. But y'all can just wear glasses like this and it's fine, but yeah, that goes back for forever. People used to and I think they would have other fashionistas would have moles.
Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
Pimp walking,
sea walking, all that good stuff. Just whatever to do to make you look. Yeah, see,
that all comes from high society, which I've always maintained.
But did that originate with scabies or something? Because otherwise it's not exactly the same thing. Again,
a restless leg or something
this lady had an unfortunate calamity thrusted upon her, but
made it work,
and then people apparently I'm sure to her
it didn't hit.
It was just horrific.
She was like, why don't y'all just fucking walk?
But other people saw her and were like, oh, she's really making it work, and so then they just started to do it. I think it's moles or beauty marks and stuff that people would fake and put on their faces too.
Because Marie Antoinette had one.
Same type of
Actually, I think it was Marie Antoinette that actually had that, and so people started getting whatever their mascara was back then.
It's an example of we have these base tendencies as a species, right?
To copy the fancy.
Yeah, and the internet and social media and everything just
exacerbates
fully into those and just brings out the worst elements of ourselves.
For sure. I mean? And it's nowadays, like you said, back then, how did this stuff get out? And it was it was in pamphlets and just stories, because I do know that back in those days, there were people who, because you would never actually physically see some of these famous people. You would just see drawings of them. There were people whose entire career was that they looked a lot like this person, and they would just like go out and scam people and shit like that, which like nowadays I guess would be like celebrity impersonators that you have come to your birthday, which is a thing.
To Vegas or whatever.
But back then, like you would hear stories of like some like people would just come up on the street and go like, "Are you Anne Boleyn?" And somebody that was smart would just be like, "Yeah, you want to buy me a horse?" You know, I'll be Anne Boleyn for a day. But like, yeah, now like they promote themselves and put themselves on social media. But back then, like it just kind of like it was like a word of mouth thing that got out. And at some point, because if that happened nowadays, if Kim Kardashian, like you said, just got hit by a bus and started limping, everybody would be like, "Oh, she got hit by a bus, so she limps. That don't hit. I hope she gets better." But back then, they would just see someone walking like that and go, "Oh shit, I didn't know we were supposed to be doing that." All right, sure.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, you're right. They didn't. That's a good point.
They didn't know the backstory.
They didn't know she got rheumatic fever or whatever.
They just saw her
so
walking
they saw
like
her
that.
walking all funny, and they were like,
That's up.
The way to walk
That's
now.
what's up. Yeah, that's how people walk.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Because, yes, nowadays everyone would know.
And they wouldn't do it.
Right.
Like, they wouldn't just start doing that. They
Right.
might go like, "Oh, I should get hit by a bus too." But, like, they wouldn't just start walking like that. That was also, by the way, on this theme, getting gout was that same thing. People would purposefully get gout. Once they found out, like...
Is it because you get gout from eating things that hit and drinking things that hit for a long time?
Yes.
So it was like a symbol of,
Yes.
oh, I hit.
Yes.
I have the means to do
hit.
the thing that causes this ailment.
Which,
so
by the
now
way...
you know that I hit.
And also, would you like to know what someone, if they didn't actually have gout, would do to pretend that they have gout? They would limp.
Right.
So there was probably a bunch of dudes limping, and people were just like, "Oh shit, I bet he's got gout," because that was like once they found out
that guy's eating a lot of shellfish.
It was. I mean, it's called
steak and whatever.
It's called the rich man's disease for that reason, and it's just like me and my granny used to have this conversation all the time because my granny was like, my granny came up during the Depression and shit, and dietary, like the way that people look nowadays is completely opposite of how they look then. Like back in my granny's day, if you was a big old fat motherfucker,
you were wealthy.
You were
and
wealthy, and
now it's poor, dumb people
exactly.
that are fat.
Like
right.
rich people are fit because they can have Pelotons and like all that shit. But like I remember me and Granny having this conversation when I ballooned up for the first time and got super fat. She was just
good
like,
for you.
Oh, dude,
my baby's healthy.
She like the fatter I got, the better I looked. She was like, yeah.
Well, to be fair, I think that's most grandmas.
Yeah, it is.
Again, again, you're not fat. You're just healthy.
Right.
You're well fed.
But I had to explain to her. I was like, Granny, back in your day, if you saw somebody like me, you're like, he can afford to take care of me. But
that guy owns a railroad.
But nowadays, it just means like I eat double cheeseburgers every day.
Right. And which are $1.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, back then, like when they found out that like dudes like Henry VIII were getting gout and how you got gout, which was like, you know, foods high in uric acid. I don't know if they like knew exactly that back then, but they were just like, oh, all the rich people have it. Therefore, we should get that because if we tell a girl that we got gout, I mean, that's all we got to do. And it's like, okay, but then they're going to get with you and realize that you don't hit.
Showing some sexy lady at a bar, your fat, malformed foot, your
swollen red
foot. It's like, what do you think about that?
And what do you do for a living? I don't know. Check out my cloven hoof.
What's that say to you? And she's just like, ooh,
it stank. But like that's for real, man.
Yeah, right.
Like that is legitimately for real, and like I think that falls under that same category.
Yes.
This year, it's time to get off the couch and get back into the bedroom, and Blue Chew can help. We know that confidence can take you pretty far in life, and when you feel confident, you're at your best, especially when it comes time to getting down in the bedroom, stepping up to the plate, time to lay some wood, and that's where Blue Chew comes in. Tell them about it, Trey.
That's right. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime you want, day or night, so you can plan ahead or just be ready whenever an opportunity arises, if you know what we mean. The process is simple. Go to BlueChew.com, sign up, consult with a licensed medical provider there, and once you're approved, you'll get your prescription within days. Everything's done on the internet. You ain't got to go to the doctor's office. You ain't got to wait in line at the pharmacy. They bring it straight to your door. in a discreet package, which all hits.
Yes, it does. That is our favorite day of the month. My wife gets so excited. She peeks out the blinds like a little meemaw trying to see if the little boy cutting her yard's doing a good enough job. Oh, my God, the postman's here. I know it's Blue Chew Day. Boing, yoing, 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 yoing. My man's getting him a new wiener. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free, 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 when you use our promo code POA at checkout. All you got to do is pay $5 shipping. Best $5 you'll ever spend. That's BlueChew.com, promo code POA to receive your first month for free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
That's right, Blue Chew. Get you a new wiener. Well, on a somewhat related note, I wanted to talk about an area where rednecks and fancy people overlap, and that's wine.
Which is another way that you can get gout.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yes, it's definitely fancy people shit, but it's also white trash shit for sure. The
way that me and you do it.
And everyone we know does
Right.
it. Like, we drink our wine from a box.
Yeah.
Typically, you and I, especially, we're particular trash because we pour our wine from a box over ice.
Yeah.
Which even other trash are like,
Right.
well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't you know how fancy people do it? It ain't that.
Yeah, right.
But it just hits harder. I just like a cold drink, man.
Let me tell you
I
something.
like a goddamn cold drink.
And that's a thing that, like, especially where we're from, like I was texting my brother-in-law the other day, and I was hungover as shit. And because me and him share this, I was like, dude, is there anything in the world better than when you're hungover, but you wake up and you're like, okay, I got it in me to get to the store, and you get that first cold drink. You know what I'm saying? Like a cold drink. I don't want a drink.
You want a cold
that
drink.
is warm. Like the only drink.
Drinks that are warm don't hit.
No, like coffee.
Well, I mean, you're right.
but I have to be in a particular mood for that. But I'll tell you this: all this summer, I drink coffee. It's iced as a son of a bitch, and also all my tea is iced. I enjoy a warm tea, but like during the summer and shit like that, miss me with that shit, and also miss me with like warm red wine. Like I'll puke that shit up, dude.
Right. So maybe it's because we're not just trash. We're trash from the South where it's hot all the time and you want to be refreshed. You don't want to, I guess people up in the fucking Great White North where the fucking clouds are trying to murder you with cold fury every goddamn day.
Yeah.
Want to be warmed up with a fucking hot cup of coffee or chowder or whatever the fuck they're doing up there. But like, where we come from, drinks are for refreshment.
Yes.
You want to be refreshed.
Yeah.
So you want a cold drink. And I just have always been a cold drink type of motherfucker.
Me too.
So when I got into boozing.
And also drinks that taste good.
Right. See, but that's the thing. You say drinks that taste good.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like, that's our whole thing. It's like, oh, this wine, it don't taste good unless it's a cold drink.
Right. I always
but
think
not
about,
everybody. They don't fit.
No.
Matter of fact, most people feel the opposite of that.
I know.
And of course, we're talking about red wine here particularly. But
I always
like,
go back to the episode of Seinfeld where they're going to a dinner party and they're at like a liquor store trying to pick up stuff to get there. And of course, George, being the cheap motherfucker that he is, like he puts up a bottle of Pepsi on the thing, and they're like, "George, really, Pepsi?" And he's like, "What?" And they're like, "You bring wine." He goes, "You name a scenario to me where red wine tastes better than Pepsi."
Yeah.
Oh, wait. And it's like, he's right. I mean, Pepsi does taste way better, but that's not the point.
But red wine's just a fancy thing.
Right.
So, like, yeah, and it is very much a fancy people thing. But see, here's what I have determined in my limited research on the subject. The thing that makes
This podcast could be called Limited Research with
absolutely,
Trey and Corey.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. A few minutes of googling has led me to believe that that's the key difference. Is it's actually not about what tastes better. Pepsi tastes better, sure, but they don't care because
There's no tannins in it.
they don't even. A lot of times they don't even drink it.
Right.
Like that's what's wild that we don't even.
Bitcoin.
It's an investment thing.
Yeah.
It's like art. It's like a beautiful painting, like the painting we have here, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This painting
Easily.
and these people buy the super high end wines are not bought to be drunk.
Right.
They're bought as like investment strategies because they appreciate in value and you can resell them later, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's where I'm at on that, because I'm trash. I'm sure you feel the same way. But to me, that defeats the entire purpose of wine.
I know.
Like, even if I was a rich ass
painting.
Even if I was a rich ass motherfucker who could spend that amount of money on wine, if I bought $150,000 bottle of wine, I want to drink that shit.
And I promise you I would. Which is why
I'm buying it to fucking floss on people and be like, yeah, it's $150,000 bottle of wine that we're all drinking right now. And everybody be choking on it because it's like Thomas Jefferson's wine or whatever. And so it ruined fucking 75 years ago. But it does
ruin, though?
Eventually it does. But that's supposed to think.
There's things age like a fine wine.
I know.
There's like a middle ground for it.
There is a middle ground. Eventually it goes bad, but there's like still sealed bottles of wine from Thomas Jefferson's cellar, actually. I didn't say his name for no reason, that are like $250,000 or more on the market from Thomas Jefferson's cellar just because they're Thomas Jefferson bottles of wine. And I get that for sure. I get that too, but the fact, again, I guess it's just my trash brain, but the fact that it's wine we're talking about, if I was the fucking son of a Saudi oil sheik or whatever, and I bought a bottle of Thomas Jefferson wine, I would want to pour it over some hoes' titties or something. Course. You know what I mean? Like, I would want to do the bottle. I would want to do some wine shit with it.
Keep the bottle. Like, this was Thomas Jefferson's bottle that he put it in, but I
don't get just having it just to look at and talk about it. I don't understand that, but they do it all the time. They love it. What you did?
I'm now understanding that I'm equal amounts dumb because, this isn't the same thing. It didn't cost $150,000.
What, do you have a Star Wars toy or something in the plastic?
No, I have like 6 John Smoltz Coke bottles that the Coke's still in.
Dude, I don't know. Coca-Cola ain't the same thing, I don't think. Because I feel like
I'm just saying I didn't drink them.
I'm trying to let you off the hook. No one acts like Coca-Cola gets better the longer it sits in a bottle.
That's true.
The whole thing with
I didn't do some Coca-Cola shit with it.
The whole thing with Coca-Cola is supposed to be that it tastes the same. That's why it's a powerful brand.
Right.
So, like, you got a John Smoltz bottle of Coca-Cola or whatever. Ostensibly, it should taste the same as any bottle of Coca-Cola because that's the consistency of the branding or whatever. But with wine, it ain't like that. Right. It's supposed to hit harder the older it is and the richer the motherfucker that bottled it or whatever. Right. It's supposed to ostensibly make it hit harder, which is what makes it Also, it gets you drunk. Coke don't get you drunk.
Right,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
You ain't doing some hoe shit drinking Coke.
Like, I just don't... I don't understand... Also, like you said, just buy a painting. If you have that money and you could put it into antiquities or whatever, well, just do that. Things that you're not expected to drink. But I don't understand pouring that money into something that could get you drunk, that you could pour over some hoes' titties if you wanted to, and then not doing none of that. I don't get that. But that's what they do with this real high-end shit.
That's also another example of there's just this group of people who determine what things are worth, and everybody else just agrees upon that.
Wine is one of the most egregious examples of what you're talking about in the entire Western world.
Right.
There's pretty much, other than, like I said, there's Thomas Jefferson bottles of wine that are worth $250,000, and there's an obvious reason for that. And for the record,
I'm not going to lie to you. Hypothetically, let's say I became a comedy superstar, okay? Hypothetically, it's going to happen. But hypothetically, I did that, and I become one of them, and I don't know that these people exist anymore in the comedy world where, Will Ferrell was getting, $20 million a movie to do some shit. Yeah. And I was getting all that, and I literally had the most superfluous amount of cash in the entire world, and I could do whatever the fuck I wanted, and I've already got my house paid off, and I'm taking care of my family, and everything's fine. And then I'm already drunk, and I'm hanging out with some people, and I go, hey, here's this goddamn bottle of Thomas Jefferson wine. It's $500,000, and I know that I can afford it. I think I know me. I would buy it, but you know the fucking first thing I would do? I would call you,
right,
and I would go, I think this is about to be disgusting, but
we're about to
drink
do
this
this.
shit,
Of
and
course.
I'll keep the bottle, and we'll film it, and it'll be hilarious. But like, of course, I'm drinking that shit,
dude. That's my whole thing. I agree with every word you just said.
Because none of it makes sense to me otherwise.
I know exactly.
Buy
I don't
a goddamn
get it.
boat.
But obviously, right, there are other things you can spend that same amount of money on that don't get you drunk.
Right.
With wine, I don't understand the point otherwise. But I was saying, like, with Thomas Jefferson wine, I get it. It's from a founding
you
father's
think there's like
wine cellar.
this is one of Dale Earnhardt's Percocets.
Right, right. Yeah. We should start that. Be sommeliers, but for pills.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't take it.
But that's what you're right. Yeah.
Why would you
try to sell any pill patron on that? I don't care how rich they are. Yeah. Fuck, I don't care if this was Jesus's Percocets. I'm taking it.
Taking it right the fuck now.
Right. Yes, exactly. But so I'm saying I get like Thomas Jefferson bottles of wine. Okay, it came from a founding father's wine cellar.
That is cool.
I get the historical impact of that, but I'm saying there are other more expensive bottles of wine that are pretty much, as far as I can tell, only that expensive because people fucking whoever
Banksy's people
determined that it was.
Yeah.
And the most expensive bottle of wine on planet Earth is from a winery in California, and it's from like the 1990s, and it's called Screaming Eagle, which sounds like some anti-mass Trump
Panama
shit.
City Beach.
Yes, the Majestics. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
So how did that happen? Because the powers that be, the wine powers that be, determined that those grapes were grown under the right sun and the right fucking springtime or whatever, and makes them worth that amount. And here's what's even more fucked up about that is that there have been multiple studies that have proven that the best wine palates on planet Earth, the number one French-ass wine critic on planet Earth, you blindfold them and give them some Franzia and some Screaming Eagle, they do not know the difference.
Yeah.
It's been proven time and time again. They cannot tell the fucking difference. Maybe they could tell the difference between Franzia and Screaming Eagle. I don't know. But they cannot adequately discern the difference between multi-$100,000 bottles of wine and something that you get at the CVS. And we know that to be true.
Right.
And so, like, it's all
everyone
just
knows
fake.
that to be true.
It's all just fake.
I actually have a story about that. This girl I used to date who loved her, and her father, rest in peace, loved him. But they're the ones that actually got me to drinking wine. Like, I'd never been a wine drinker, even of the box variety. But I do remember I'd been hanging out with them, and like they were like went to California all the time, Napa, wine snobs. They were in like a wine club. They really loved it. And then like I remember I dated her. You know how I used to do. Like we'd date for 9 months, and then I wouldn't see her for 3 years, and then I'd start dating her again. Well, by the time I started dating her again, they were still drinking wine, but I noticed that like they had shifted from like everything has to be fancy to they were exclusively drinking this $12 bottle of wine. And I was at first like, oh shit, did like somebody lose their
something
job?
go wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
But like that wasn't it at all. And the story that Blake told me was that he had been bought into all that shit for years, and that he was like at some sort of like wine tasting expo or something, and he had watched a sommelier get fucking Penn and Tailored by a son of a bitch, and it was with this bottle of, it was called Bogle, and he drank it, and he was like, oh yes, this is the clear, like this is the blah, 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 and they were like, yeah, that costs $12, and you can get it at any Kroger, and the guy was just like, slunk back in his seat, and then Blake started...
By Jove.
Yeah, by Jove, and then Blake started talking to some people about that, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of a thing, like... It's not all bullshit.
It's all just kind of bullshit.
And then he started talking to some people. They're like, yeah, actually, we have several $12 bottles that we kind of at dinner do. And he's like, well, I'll never do that shit again.
So
shout out Bogle.
Yeah, shout out Bogle.
Sponsor.
Sponsor.
Yeah, holler at us, Bogle.
Yeah, producer Russ.
I think, I kind of feel like if you have an understanding of that, it makes what we were talking about earlier make a little more sense to me. Meaning, like, if you have that money spend it on a Thomas Jefferson bottle of wine, put it up, it appreciates in value. That's an investment.
drink Bogle.
And drink Bogle because it's $12, and you understand that it costs the same amount. So
fair, but considering this is not just common knowledge amongst like sommeliers and all these people, like I know this,
right? Most people know. So how does that persist?
Persist?
How does that persist? That
like,
it matters,
like, dude,
right?
We're living in the day now to where like we're watching Bitcoin and Dogecoin and shit just be made up on the spot, and you know that shit's gonna crash.
It's literally just because they all kind of agree that it
this
does.
is the thing, right?
As long as they all keep agreeing that it matters, then it will continue to matter.
I mean, what something's value is what someone else
will pay for
will
it.
pay for
right.
it. So I mean, yeah, that's true, but like that's still just fucking bananas and doesn't like I don't know. Like again, I've been to the French Laundry in Napa Valley and we did like a little wine tasting thing, and I was like, yeah, this is good or whatever. But like I've had way better nights with a box of wine.
Yeah,
and a
I know,
bag of ice. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like we just have different things we're trying to do when we drink wine, I guess. But I mean, these people do get fucked up though, right?
Yeah. So a little fun fact about wine for you. Do you know, I mean, people think the reason we clink wine glasses together?
Hold on. I actually do think I know this. Wait, no, I don't. I thought I did, but maybe I don't.
Ostensibly, probably not.
We think
true.
it's a cheers thing.
Ostensibly, probably not.
Oh,
true.
wait, hold on. Can I guess? Can I make a guess?
Yeah.
Can I make a guess?
Yeah.
Now this is way out there, and I may be wrong, but it's if you know that this bitch actually has some fine wine glasses, that it makes like a nice tinky sound.
No, but that's not. Well, it's kind of.
And by the way, when I said bitch, I didn't mean woman. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
shouldn't.
know. Yeah.
This
Duchess.
Bitch, Duchess. Yeah, this Duchess, like
this Duchess here.
Because like like fancy wine glasses do make a different tink than like your regular.
So, according to the internet, based on what some people
which is
think,
accurate,
we clink wine glasses because it was supposed to be a way to ensure that you weren't being poisoned. Which I'm
because a little would go over into the.
You clink the things together, which means some of yours would go into theirs, which means it was safe to drink it because everybody was just poisoning everybody back in the day.
Dude, that's so true that they really were, especially in like high society. Like everybody was just like they just stayed getting poisoned, right?
Yeah,
because there was no like, especially back then, like
some prince's birthday, you might get poisoned,
right? And there was no like, dude, investigating stuff back then. Get the fuck out of here.
No.
There wasn't like DNA. There wasn't like it was just you went in and somebody was like, "We think someone got poisoned." They're like, "Yep," and they go, "Was it you?" Nope. All right. Yeah. And that was pretty much it, right?
Yes, absolutely. But it's one like again, dude, wine hits for me too, but out of a box poured over ice. But it's kind of just it's definitely very fancy. It's kind of inherently pretentious. Because another thing that studies have found about wine is that the music that one listens to when they drink wine is determinative of how they will rate said wine afterwards. So you can give somebody the same exact glass of wine and play them 2 Chainz or whatever. And we're talking about fancy rich people, so 2 Chainz don't hit for them. And same glass of wine, but you play Mozart, and they will say that the Mozart wine was, reminiscent of Victorian butterflies.
It's so funny
because
else.
Like it just
pussy is the opposite. You know what I mean?
Play 2 Chainz.
If I'm getting some pussy and I hear them apple bottom jeans, I'm like, get up in it.
This is what's up.
But if somebody was sucking my dick to Mozart, I'd be like, can we can we fucking wrap this shit up? Like this ain't doing it. For
Absolutely, wine is the opposite of pussy in that way.
It is. Yeah,
the inverse,
and it appreciates in value.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The inverse quality of wine versus pussy.
For sure.
You should do a academic thesis on that.
Wine versus pussy.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The inverse relation of wine versus pussy, where music is concerned.
A pretty big section on Thomas Jefferson, if I had to guess.
Yeah, probably. He was about that life.
He was about that life, too.
So I said it was inherently pretentious, and it kind of is. And we're talking about how people that fuck with wine. They're just kind of making it all up, and they are. So I want to read you some wine reviews.
Yeah, please.
Because, again, people kind of do know that this is the way it is, but having just talked about how much bullshit it all is, and then listening to these wine reviews really just outlines
Just settles it.
how baldly absurd all of this shit is. So, all right, here's a couple wine reviews for you. All right. This
Sorry.
this texturally silken, supremely elegant effort, transparently and kaleidoscopically
Could be about pussy. For the record.
combines moss, wet stone,
Jesus.
gentian, budleia.
What are any of these?
Don't know.
Okay, you don't know?
No,
Because you know more words than any person I know.
Coriander,
I know that one.
pepper, piquant yet rich nut oils.
Also, fuck that for a drink.
And a saline clam broth savor
Fuck out of here.
that milks the salivary glands.
Dude, that person should be crucified.
But
Hung.
they're not done. But besides this impressive array of non-fruity components, white peach and lemon deliver abundant primary juiciness and an animating tang, rendering the finish as invigorating and refreshing as it is vibrant, mouth-watering, and dynamically complex.
I believe there was heroin in that wine. Like something, like who the fuck would?
Who in the fuck could read that and not know that they made all of that up? How could you read that and not understand that this is complete, total bullshit?
I also can't decide if like the person that was writing that is someone who genuinely 100% is so far up their own ass that they actually believe that they ascertain.
They probably do.
Wine.
They probably do. Because I feel like if you're that person in that world living that life, you kind of have to convince yourself of that.
But
I think.
But surely to God, there has to be at least a couple of them dudes that are like, dude, I literally can just write anything. And they eventually have to get more creative than the last thing they did. And if they have like little side bets with each other, that is just kind of like, okay, The Rock and Stone Cold, right?
Here we go. Yeah.
Well, this is the show. The Rock and Stone Cold, they had a famous trilogy, WrestleMania 17, 19, and 21 or whatever. And like, if you ever go back and look at how The Rock took the Stone Cold Stunner, the man took the Stone Cold Stunner better than anyone, which means that he sold. And in wrestling, selling is literally
everything.
It's everything.
Selling is life.
And sometimes, yes, you can go, that's an oversell, but an oversell is always better than an undersell.
Yeah.
Especially if the person you're wrestling is supposed to be the most badass motherfucker on earth. You oversell to give the audience like, oh, wow, damn. Like, that's how that affected The Rock. So... But in The Rock, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to love it. He would get the Stone Cold Stunner and like he would literally hit the ground, pause, and like gyrate himself up and flip and do all this shit. And when you look back now,
I remember.
and it hit real hard. It hit real hard.
Yeah.
But you go back and look at it now, you're like, Jesus Christ. But him and Stone Cold, like if you go back and read interviews, they actually like, that was a running gag for them. Like, The Rock was doing that in the ring to hit for Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Like, he would be like, oh, you think I took it hard last time? You wait for this. And there's every now and then you can see Stone Cold actually, like, look and be like, Jesus Christ, like, that was a bit much. My point is, do you think that these dudes, like, in the wine review world have that with each other where, like, you ain't going to believe what the fuck I just said, Terry?
Honestly, I would like to think that, but no. I think... It's just hard for me to believe that they don't mean all of this.
Right.
Well, again, I think that it's sort of like Tom Cruise thinking that he's a level 3 operating Thetan in the Scientology world, where it's like, I have telekinetic. I'm saying, I think, like, deep down in the back of Tom Cruise's mind, he has to know I'm not a superpowered alien. But I think that up front, Tom Cruise is like, I'm a superpowered alien and I can do all that.
Right.
And I think that's how these wine motherfuckers be.
Right.
You know, it's like deep down they have to know it's all bullshit. But I think that they convince themselves
right.
that it's all real.
Like,
So
in their mind, they're like, it has to be this. If it's not this, then what are we even here for?
Yes. I'm going to read you a couple more, and then we're going to get into history with Professor Cho. So here's the next one. Tightly focused with a beam of Linzer Tort.
Yes.
Bitter cherry.
Tort, T-O-R-T.
Yes. Okay. Linzer Tort, bitter cherry, plum sauce, and fig fruit laced with licorice snap.
Can I stop you there?
Sure.
If I'm reading both of these reviews back to back, I'm already going with this one.
Sure.
Because at least he's mentioned a bunch of fruit.
Let me name you the next thing he says.
Jesus.
With licorice snap, singed iron.
God damn it.
There it is. There it is. And roasted bay leaf. The long finish has lots of roasted fig, tar,
God damn.
and spice notes for extra base, but the acidity is there as well. All right, moving into the third review. A nose-mingling gentian. Gentian shows up again, very popular.
But do you know what that means?
No fucking clue what gentian
Hey,
is.
Producer Russ, will you look up what gentian means, please? Because I need to know
It's
that.
the word gent, like in gentleman, I-A-N, gent-E-N. A nose-mingling gentian, elderflower, seaweed, mussels, salt spray, and chicken stock.
God, what are we doing? Oyster shooters?
Again,
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes, sage, fennel, peach kernel, lemon, alkali, and wet stone.
That's a battery.
All chime in on the silken, buoyant, mouth-wateringly saline finish of the polished and prodigious length of this vintage.
I just have to assume.
Yes, where is all this fucking clam chowder talk coming
I know,
from?
for wine,
all this
like
salt spray shit.
Also,
who wants fucking oyster piss taste in their goddamn wine? I don't understand how that is even supposed to be good.
And again, like, I've had good wine. Like, I've had good wine.
Yeah, I honestly don't know that I have.
I have.
But
I have.
Yeah, you've been to the French Laundry.
I've been in the French Laundry, and I've been around some, highfalutin people. But I've never once taken a sip of wine and thought, briny.
Is that an alkali brine?
Yeah.
Is that a salty clam jizz spray I'm getting there?
Was this soaked in a bath of sodium?
Okay, so apparently gentian is a flower.
Okay, well, that actually kind of makes sense.
It does make sense, but also,
Get the fuck out of here.
But
you just knew about this flower.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You just what's the flower that most people don't know about?
Exactly.
That's it.
That's exactly what
they could have said orchid.
That's exactly,
they could have said fucking any other thing.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It had to be a flower that nobody else the fuck knows about.
And again, like,
had to
obviously,
be a fucking fancy ass pretentious flower.
Yes, and obviously, like, we're fucking trash, but like, you, again, as I said, know more words than any son of a bitch. I know you're not a botanist, but like,
I don't know more flowers.
You know what? I used to work at a flower shop. Okay, matter of fact, there you go. I used to literally work at a goddamn flower shop, one of the fanciest flower shops in all of goddamn Chattanooga. I ain't ever heard about that shit at all.
That's what I'm saying. It can't just floral notes.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's too broad.
But that's too broad.
These fucking pieces
but you
of shit.
gotta pick a specific flower that no one has ever heard of.
Yeah,
and you go with gentian, and then mix that with clam spray.
Yeah,
or whatever, and singed iron,
and also alkaline.
You are just making this shit up.
That's why I genuinely think that, like, I have to believe that some of these people are just like failed writers who, like, that's how they tried to write stories, and people were like, and they were like, well, you know what? You know who loves pretentious up their ass shit? I can go make a fucking quick buck doing this. Like, I know that probably most of them aren't this way, but like, there has to be at least one dude who like has dinner with his wife every night and is just like, you ain't gonna believe what I described this fucking wine as.
Yeah, again, I want to give them the credit of saying that.
I'm going to try to.
And also, I hope that you are right. I would like to imagine.
And I'd love to meet that guy,
right,
for the record.
Yes, that dude would be fun to hang out
awesome.
with.
Yeah.
If he was very open and upfront about, you'll never believe the fucking bullshit I sold these wine snobs on.
Right.
That would hit for me. But I don't think most of them are like that.
Because, like, they're in that world to begin with.
They're in that, what you've got to be serious. That's one of those things that's like, as all comics, we have problems with things that take themselves too seriously.
Right.
And nothing takes itself more seriously, I don't think,
Right.
than the fucking wine world.
No,
you
I
know,
agree.
which that's how these guys make their bones, which is, you know, what the recent vintage is flavored with. Vintner's bones.
Yeah, this is beaver bones.
Yes,
and just like
a hint of vintner's bones and
like
beaver
Yeah,
glands.
it tastes like the flakes off the skull of a possum. Like I just what the fuck ever, man.
But listen, let's put a cork in the wine talk.
Look at you.
I know. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep that up. But let's put a cork in the wine talk and move on to history with Professor Cho.
Yeah,
what do you say?
Right after this, we will be back with a brief overview of Giacomo Casanova. Giacomo Finane.
Hold on there, y'all. Listen, we interrupt this hilarious podcast to talk to you about something truly funny. The untimely death of one of you poor bastards out there.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Someone listening to this nonsense right now could be dying, literally as you hear the sound of my voice.
And we see y'all out at the shows. Based on how some of you are looking, it might not just be one of you about to kick over.
Now, the real question is, do you have life insurance? Do you have anything set up if something were to happen to you tomorrow? If not, go to GoliathLife.com and get that shit taken care of.
We're having a good time with y'all, but life insurance is important. Think about this recent situation. A man, 54, wife and kids, paying less than $170 a month for a select standard policy. Sadly, this man passed from COVID, but fortunately for his family, that small monthly payment turned into a $500,000, $500,000 death benefit paid out in full.
GoliathLife.com has made buying life insurance ridiculously easy. You basically do the whole thing without any of the silly conversations. It's all online, and you choose your terms and payments that fit your budget.
And if you do end up going through and getting the medical exam, they'll come to you at your house or even your sorry-ass job you've got if you're not too embarrassed about it.
GoliathLife.com makes buying life insurance simple. Get multiple quick quotes right now from the comfort of your own home or trailer park and begin your application in a few easy clicks right now at GoliathLife.com.
And with Conrad.com can help you get to the house you want and the monthly payment you want. It's that simple. Buywithconrad.com makes it fast and easy, and we can do it for you too. You don't need perfect credit to do this, and you may not even need a down payment, but you need to buy a house. Imagine if you'd done this 2 years ago. You might already have a ton of equity. Wealthy people, successful people, smart people don't rent. Do the smart thing. Buy a house. And the first step, well, is to go to buywithconrad.com. Buywithconrad.com is going to do more than just get you pre-approved like everybody else trying to buy a house right now. You see, in this competitive market, you need an edge to have the winning bid on your next house. And buywithconrad.com can get you completely underwritten before you write an offer. That allows you to negotiate like a cash buyer because you can close faster. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Seriously, get the house you want and the payment you want right now at buywithconrad.com.
All right, so let's get into a history with Professor Cho on the subject of Giacomo Casanova. As always, I like to tell you what little I already know about the subject at hand. With Casanova, he poured tours. He was the Leonardo DiCaprio of his time.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's pretty much... Well, that's it. I'm done. That's all I know about Giacomo Casanova.
I mean, the name Casanova is one of those, again, we talked about earlier. It's like, I didn't even know he had a fucking first name. Like, that name is just synonymous with being, like, no matter where you're from, what country, what state, what class, or whatever, if you know someone and they pull a lot of leg, they're a Casanova. Like, that's just the thing. Like, you know, I remember when I was in middle school, a lot of the moms called me a Casanova because, like, I always had a lot of chicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you did pretty well.
I did. It didn't play out. I ended up turning more into what someone who didn't hit.
Fuck, I don't know, some YouTuber that we don't know the name of.
Yeah,
right
probably.
now?
I ended up, well, like I've almost kind of worked myself into like Henry VIII stank leg, fucking, you know, gouted out fat piece of shit that no one can.
A note for an extra or for a future potential subject for history, Professor Cho, Dom Juan. Because
I don't know shit about.
I don't either. All I know is he also parked whores.
And that he's a real Don Juan.
A Don Juan is also synonymous with Casanova, and I don't know fucking anything about that motherfucker.
Would you think that like the reason we don't know more about him is because
he's less white?
I was about to say he's a brown whore porker.
Yes, brown whore porkers.
But the name
don't,
the name Casanova super does hit, but like Don Juan, like like that's what's up. Well, I, like you, pretty much only exclusively knew that like Casanova was synonymous with like he got a lot of girls. And by the way, Professor Cho, we've upgraded on this episode. I have my fancy scroll here in front of me with some notes that I've taken about Giacomo Casanova, who was born in Venice on April 2nd, 1725, to an actress. All right, and I don't know if did you know this about back then that
actresses didn't hit?
They were literally considered the exact same thing as whores.
I don't know that I knew that, but that doesn't surprise me because
it's almost not changed a little bit.
Well, right, but back then they didn't have AMC theaters to put their shit in. Right, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you couldn't be like you
were a traveling.
You couldn't be a blockbuster megastar as an actor or actress back then.
Right.
So it makes sense to me that they were looked down upon.
Right. Well, Casanova was the son of a whore or actress. And again, that was not like this is another thing that actually kind of surprises me because when I heard of Casanova, like just that name, I genuinely assumed that he was like he was a duke or like he was born into royalty or something like that.
100%. I would have bet $500 or more that Casanova was a prince or a son of a royal or whatever.
No, not the case at all. So he's born of an actress in the olden times, and again, she was considered a whore. So during these times, his mom's having to travel a lot with a father who left him, and so he gets picked up by his grandmother, and she's just like, "Look, I'll take the boy." You know, it was one of those situations. He was, I remember he was inflicted.
That's a pretty southern situation.
It's a very
pretty southern redneck.
Yeah, your mom's a whore. Bring him over here
to Mama's. Yeah, Mama will raise the baby because the mama is a whore. Yeah,
right.
Very, very popular situation with our people.
Yeah, except for I think I'm not certain that like she was like, because a lot of times with our people, the mom is like, "Cool, good, take them. I didn't want that baby."
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I don't think
I'm trying to do all these pills.
Yeah, I don't think that was really the case with Casanova's mom, but I do think it was like a finally understanding. Like, look, I have to. Like you said, there was no theater like AMC theaters. Like in order to make her money as an actress, she had to travel and do all that stuff. So Casanova had to go to the grandmother. Casanova was also very stricken with nosebleeds. Like he was, like when he was a kid, like he just literally wouldn't stop bleeding from the nose. Like every day, all day, he would just be bleeding. And so, you know, they had to go see somebody about that. But like,
who did you see back then?
Who did you see back then?
Oh yeah, he's got ghosts in his nose.
Yeah. Well,
that boy's got ghost nose.
Well, it was the person.
I recommend the Lord.
Well, it was kind of
some salt.
It was kind of the opposite. The person that they went to see was a witch. They
went the other way.
The complete.
Right. Well, clearly you got witch nose. Yeah. So the best way to go about that would be to go see a witch. And get this fixed.
So they went the complete opposite way, which started Casanova off on a lifelong fascination with the occult, because like, and I couldn't find in my research that like they did something other than like threw a bunch of fucking chimney soot up there and it like stopped it, and so he was like, "Oh, hail Satan!" But like,
he probably just grew out of it or something,
right? I used
like
to have,
you would do.
I had a lot of nosebleeds as a kid,
but there was a witch around when that happened. So he was like, "Witches are it."
Yes, because I too used to have a lot. I every now and then, because I have really really bad allergies and it gets dry in there, I'll have a nosebleed from time to time. But like when I was a kid, it was insane. But eventually, like I don't know how kids just stop having nosebleeds, but I did. But yeah, because there was a witch around.
Right. Well, kids they're just shit just changes.
He was picking at his nose all the time, and he had a cuticle and shit like that.
Also, you grow out of shit.
Right.
You know?
Well, so he has all these nosebleeds. He's with his grandmother. They send him to boarding school. So, you know, I don't have any, I can't, I've thought about it all the time about all these fucking kids that go to boarding school. And you know, as a Southern man, I pretty much didn't leave my hometown. I mean, I left when I was a teenager. I went to Chicago and did Second City or whatever. But that, I remember that was a huge fucking deal.
Massive deal.
It was a massive deal. And again, I didn't even grow up poverty stricken. But going to a big city,
going anywhere for anything,
dude. There being
big deal.
trains and stuff. It was fucking bananas. So these kids that at 8 years old, they just get sent from their little tiny hometown to some different city to go to boarding school. That's very insane. Well, with Casanova, the main thing that happened for him when he went to boarding school was it was the first time when he was 11 years old that he was jacked off by a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This lady just I guess he just some people got it. You know what I mean? And Casanova was one of them people that just had it. So he gets jacked off when he's 11, and fresh off of getting jacked off by a lady, he entered the...
He's like, this is it.
This was... I
know what I'm going pro in.
12.
It's like Steph Curry hitting his first three.
Yeah, that just felt right. That tuning fork just went off in his loins. At 12, fresh off getting jacked off by a lady, he entered the University of Padua and graduated with a law degree at 17, which I have to assume...
Okay, was that a thing that was relatively normal back then? You know what I mean? I feel like lawyers back then were kind of like doctors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's Your Honor, let the record show that there were ghosts in the estate.
I mean,
it was always ghost everywhere, is what I'm saying. So could you be 17 and be a lawyer and people were like, yeah, okay, that can happen.
I have to believe...
Or was that insane?
No, I don't. I mean... It seems insane reading it back now. We had when I was in middle school, I remember we had a girl that went to she left 6th grade to go to college because she was super fucking smart, But one, now granted, I'm from fucking a Civil War town, so it would have just been one. But I don't know, because also I look back at a time.
She knows trigonometry. Right. Get her out of here.
Get her ass out of here.
Send her to Cornell. She knows about fucking advanced triangles.
Dude, matter of fact, with where we're from, they could have been like, she seems to really be enjoying any of this.
Yeah,
Get her the fuck out of here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but also back then, it feels to me that they were just kind of making up the law as it went. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't a fucking... And you got to also figure people didn't live that long back then. So 17 being a lawyer is good. You want a young strapping man on your side and stuff like that.
Yeah. 17-year-olds had fucking farms and 7 children and shit by then. So yeah, being a lawyer, not that big of a deal.
No, why not? So he also studied moral philosophy, chemistry, and mathematics, and he was but it's funny that you just brought up, is this like being a doctor? He was also very interested in medicine, and this is one of my favorite quotes because he once said, I should have been allowed to do as I wished and become a physician, in which profession quackery is even more effective than it is in legal practice, which means he would have 100% been a goddamn anti-vaxxer now or some shit like that. But or back then, the medicine also was just being completely made up all the time.
Well, of course it was.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So even back then, he couldn't be a doctor, but he could be a lawyer or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, think about what doctors back then thought about everything.
Right.
So, 17-year-old lawyer is fine.
And he's just I should be able to do that too.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. He actually did get some form of medical license. I don't know if he was actually allowed to cut people open and shit, but he did get some form of medical license. And if you had to guess, Casanova, who I gotta say, show tendencies for sure, what do you think the first thing he did with his medical license was?
Something with the pussy?
He used it to prescribe medicine to himself and his friends.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Yeah.
he was just getting real fucked up.
I didn't even know they prescribed medicine.
I didn't
back
either.
then.
I thought you'd just be
I
like,
thought you'd go down to
hurt.
the apothecary.
Right.
And get some fucking heroin in
Yeah.
a hollowed out turnip bulb or whatever. And fucking give it to your baby every night. And that's just how drugs worked.
Right. And I think that if they're giving him any type of medical license to do anything, that's kind of the same thing. Like, he didn't go to
Right.
medical college.
Right.
Like, basically, from what I'm researching and reading, he just kind of went to the medical board and was like, look, I hit as a doctor or as a lawyer. I'd probably hit as a doctor.
Yeah.
So just let me, like, do some of this stuff. Like, let me cut the middleman out, and I should be able to get laudanum from me and all my friends so that, like, my, dick can be numb and I can go a little bit longer on these hoes that I'm porking.
And they were just like, indeed.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, but around this time, as a 17-year-old, I assume with a opiate addiction or whatever, the next rational thing would be that he got super into gambling. And this was one thing that, you can't just be good at that. That's not a thing that you can just be good at, even though he's been good at everything else. He gets into, like, pretty fucking rough gambling debt, which is when he starts doing this thing that I find the most interesting about Casanova, and I don't think that a lot of people know this. Like, you might think that when I'm sitting here going, like, oh, the guy was a lawyer, got a medical license, like, that's how he made his money, that's how he was able to do stuff. He pissed away literally every single bit of his earnings. Do you know how this man literally skated through the pretty much entire rest of his life?
The ponies? What?
No. He was just such a smooth dude. Like, clearly with the women, that's why we say, oh, you're a Casanova. But, like, he just kind of, I don't know really who to describe him to amongst us, but okay, let's just hypothetically say our buddy Travis Irvine. I'm not saying that Travis Irvine is a Casanova with the women. I don't know that about Travis, but you know how Travis is just like fucking awesome to hang around?
He's just a smooth dude.
He's just a smooth dude who like you really, really, really super enjoy his company.
Right.
Now, me and you ain't rich enough to do this, but like there were people back then that were so goddamn rich that if they really, really enjoyed someone's company, they wanted them to be around 24/7, 365. And in order for someone to be at your beck and call 24 hours, 365, obviously they can't work or have a job or do anything like that. I've mentioned before in another podcast, like kind of like how Kato Kalin just lived in the back at OJ's house and he just kind of put him up because they just kind of got on. That's literally what like Casanova did. Like he had what now we talk about Patreon, sign up. He had what was called patrons who would literally just pay this motherfucker a hit stipend.
Yeah.
Like literally just a hit.
They were just like, we like this. We like what this guy's about.
Yeah,
we like what this guy's
and
doing.
we don't want him to leave. And he would just be like, well, I've got to go sell some pills to a person or like help a beggar not be put in the stocks as a lawyer. And they were just like, yeah, no, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
like,
just whatever.
We got
just
you.
keep hitting, baby.
Yeah, just keep hitting. Just
Yeah.
keep hitting. And then
Here's some more doubloons.
And I would like to posit this question to you. He would have to go from patron to patron because he would end up pissing some of these old rich men off. Could you guess why?
He kept fucking their daughters and stuff.
And their wives, yeah, and sometimes their grandmamas. Like he literally couldn't stop fucking. Like again, like you said with Steph Curry, like
fucking her stable boys.
He got
just whatever you got.
He got jacked off at 11, and he was just like
he was in it.
It was like that scene in Space Jam when Michael Jordan was like playing with his dad, and like it's just like this is my whole life. This is the only thing that I know how to do. After all this. He kind of fails as a lawyer. He kind of gets in more gambling debt. And he did the only thing that anyone would do. He got into the seminary.
Yeah.
So he became like a preacher, you know. Yeah. So from one, as he called the medical field, what was he say? Duck quackery. He called it quackery.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that about the medical field. He said that about being a lawyer. The most goddamn quack profession that has ever lived is the seminary. While he was in the seminary, he got a job as a scribe for Cardinal Aquaviva, which sounds like a
Love their shampoo.
yeah. That's about to say yeah. He met the Pope, and the first thing he did was ask the Pope if he could
You
read.
got any daughters?
Are you allowed?
Where's the holy grandmother at?
Right.
How's her butthole doing?
The first thing he asked the Pope was if he could. He asked him if he could read all the forbidden books, and like they're forbidden. So
all
like
the
no,
ones with pussies in them, and
right?
stuff.
And so they're forbidden. So like no, he can't. But like he got the Pope. He hit for the Pope so hard that like the Pope allowed him to read all of like the forbidden books and stuff like that. So he's reading like I guess the 12 chapters of the Bible. Where they were talking about Mary Magdalene being a whore and all that good shit. At age 21, by the way, he's just now 21. He's like this man,
so crazy.
this dude that really, but that legit is insane.
Yeah, dude.
Like you first off, getting jacked off at 11 is insane to me. But then you become a professional lawyer, have a medical license. You get into the seminary, you trick the Pope into letting you read fucking all these old books, and also then you turn 21.
I'm saying, dude, this guy was the Steph Curry of whore banging in antiquity.
He
That's
was.
like he was that guy.
But it also lets you know just
a generational talent.
just some people got it.
Some
because,
people
like,
got it.
It just also lets you know like how just dumb the Pope and all the lawyers and all them motherfuckers
So
were
dumb.
that they were just like, let him in, you know, can he play?
Yeah.
Can he play?
He could play.
Oh, dude, he absolutely could. But then at age 21, after all this, he just decides, you know what? I need to go back to the thing that even though I failed at it a lot, is my true love. And he decided to become a professional gambler.
Yeah.
Nothing can go wrong there.
Well, again, why wouldn't he?
Well, he lost all his money.
Yeah.
He lost all his money, and then after that, he became the house violinist at the Sam Samuel Theater, at which he said, a menial journeyman of a sublime art, in which if he who excels is admired, the mediocrity is rightly despised. My profession was not a noble one, but I did not care. Calling everything prejudice, I soon acquired all the habits of my degraded fellow musicians, which meant he continued to pour chords.
Yeah.
But again, we're looking at a guy who, lawyer, doctor, seminary, and now he's like, I guess I'll just go be the house violinist.
Yeah.
I mean, a true Renaissance man. Like, I'm saying all this, and it's like, no fucking wonder he got a bunch of pussy.
Yeah, right.
Like, I would fuck
He
this
hit
dude.
at
Like,
everything.
he literally
Yeah.
hit at everything. He also then saved the life of a Venetian patrician who had a stroke while riding with Casanova on a goddamn gondola. And I'm sure that got out to the press. Like, also, he's a fucking hero. Well, I know we're painting a picture of Casanova to where he's this great guy. But at age 30, so a couple years have passed, he was finally arrested on the grounds of being an affront to religion and common decency. Which
They
goes,
just now picked up on all
they
that.
were just now like, I think this guy's just fucking everything, right? So he was sentenced to 5 years. He goes to prison for a while. He ends up becoming he 3 days before. Oh my God, I totally forgot about this. He goes to prison. What do you think happened next?
He fucked the jailer and his mama.
He just straight up escaped.
Okay.
He just straight up escaped
with his dick.
Yeah, like
Through the power of his dick.
like all I know is that okay, hold on a second. He on a prison yard walk, he found a piece of iron and black marble stone that he smuggled back to his room. He sharpened it and began digging a hole in the floor, and 3 days later he was the fuck out. All right. Also, like, I know that back then, obviously, it seems like it would be easier to escape from prison than it would be to escape from prison now. But, like, anytime I ever hear of anyone who escaped from prison, I'm just like, dude, you really fucking did some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, again, to recap, lawyer, doctor, house violinist, clergyman, escape from prison, and then after he gets out of prison, of course, he can't stay where he was in Italy. He has to go to Paris, where this motherfucker, do you know what he did when he went to Paris, Trey?
Fuck some ducks.
No, he invented the lottery.
Oh,
He invented the goddamn lottery while in Paris. He sort of got his life back together, started porking a lot of Parisian whores, which like they were a lot more down.
Those are some of the better whores.
The better
I've
whores
heard.
to pork. Yeah, they were like super down with that. He literally became a trustee and like invented what we now know is kind of the lottery, and that's how he was able to make a little bit of money. He ends up, I think he went back to prison like one more time for some bullshit, escaped again, everything was fine, kept porking whores, convinced a lot more people to be patrons of his, and then in his later years, he ended up working in his 70s, by the way, which like not a lot of people lived to their 70s back then, especially people who like were having to live
Hard tours all day.
kind of have to live the lifestyle that Casanova.
They didn't know what syphilis was yet.
So he ends up working as the like headmaster at this super rich motherfucker's library. Fucked his daughter, even though he was 70, and that is where he wrote the memoirs of Giacomo Casanova, which I read to do the research, the poorly research on this show. And there you go, man. I mean, I'm sure that I missed a lot of stuff, and I'm sure that I said a lot of stuff that wasn't true, but like, it wasn't like he just looked like Paul Newman and just ran around porking whores. Like, he just kind of had it. Like,
I only thought my truck driving papa porked horse.
No.
You know what I mean? No.
Son.
No. He couldn't see this man in a dream.
No, he damn sure couldn't. And I don't know anything about the descendants of Casanova. Like, I assume, of course, he has to have a shit ton of kids that he definitely did not take care of.
No, how could he?
Well, he was always
There's
bouncing around.
35 of them.
Right, exactly. But, like, this dude, like, again, like, you always know, like, oh, that guy's a Casanova. He's good with women. But, like, again, it was just, like, so much more than that. Like, he wasn't just good with women. Like, this dude was just... I mean, when I'm reading all this, the thing that I'm thinking of is that DiCaprio movie, the Scorsese...
Wolf of Wall Street?
No, the other one with him and Christopher Walken, where he's a con artist.
That's not Scorsese.
It's not Scorsese?
Catch Me If You Can?
Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, you're right. It's
that's
not Scorsese.
fucking Steven Spielberg, ain't it?
You're right. You're right. Either way, that's who like I'm kind of picturing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that guy's good with women.
Frank Abagnale.
Frank Abagnale, who ended up working for the still to this day works for the FBI.
Yeah.
But like you go like there's so much more to the story than like he was good with women. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, the guy was good with everything. If he'd have been gay, he'd have been good with dudes. You know what I mean? Like that's just would have been.
Probably still was good with dudes.
I would. There wasn't.
He charmed a few dicks out of a few baskets. You know what I'm saying?
There wasn't enough in there to go on, and I didn't want to just like assume anything about history, but like. I would say that like it was definitely one of them situations where 100%. Like a butthole's a butthole after a point.
100%.
You know what I mean?
If anybody in history has fucked some butts, Giacomo Casanova has fucked some butts.
For sure.
And if you take nothing else with you from this episode of Puttin' on Airs, take that with you.
But yeah, and I hope that everybody really enjoyed Professor Cho this week. I tried to do my research, and I tried to be completely reliable and credible, and I hope that I was. And if not, send us an email.
That's right. Let us know what we got wrong. We can't wait. That's it for this edition of Puttin' on Airs. We'll see y'all next time. Cheers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trey and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at Puttin' on Airs. Puttin' on Airs. Puttin' on Airs.